Great day. We're back with Sis, Let's Talk About It with me and my great co host here, Lisa Lickers-Ricks.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in for our episode one. And today we are talking about the essentials of self care, right? And I'm super excited to announce today's guest because no other than my favorite self care and productivity coach, my good sis, Rose-Anne Uwague. She is a woman of God and lover of Christ. She is learning to normalize the ebbs and flows of life that allow her to exercise her big, crazy faith. She is an executive function productivity coach and is masterful at providing her clients with clarity, strategy, and accountability to achieve optimal results. She combines her maternal health advocacy efforts to create sustainable outcomes and support systems for her clients. She was featured in Forbes, weighing in on a conversation about productivity. In her spare time, she enjoys traveling, reading, and exploring culture through food, music, and dance. She has been married for 10 years and is a mom of three sons, right? 10 years is a long time, y'all. I'm only halfway
Wow.
there, right? So we're gonna talk about that too. Maybe not today. Maybe on the upcoming episode, we're gonna get Roseanne's intake on that as well. But today, sis, let's talk about self-care. And Roseanne, I want you to share with us and with our audience what inspired you to become a self-care and productivity coach, particularly focus on women's well-being.
Hey, ladies, so good to be
Hey.
here with you. Thank you for having me. So let's jump in. I feel like as women, we're always the nurturers, we're always the caregivers. And for me, I always wonder, well, who's nurturing the nurturer? So we hear all the cliches about you can't pour from an empty cup and put your oxygen mask on first. And I think it's easier said than done. So what really happened is based on my own needs and my own challenges that I faced, I'm like, I know I'm not the only one who's over here trying to balance work and life. I know I'm not the only one struggling to find harmony. So what I did was I tried different things and I said, if I can figure out, and figure out is really something that's ongoing, if I can figure out what it looks like to engage in self care and to engage in harmony and to really have work life harmony, I want to help other people. So I used to say that coaching was an accidental business, but I really believe in like the divine intervention on my life and the divine alignment. So I don't think it's an accident. I think it's definitely not a coincidence. It's something that I was supposed to be doing so that I can help other people to learn how to create this productive space for themselves and sustainable system. So that's really how I started.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Ro. So, can I ask you one question? So basically, how do you feel like doing what you're doing has actually made a true impact? Like, do you have any specific, like maybe one success story where you met someone in a space where they were just like completely overworked, just bogged down, maybe husband, kids, business owner, where you feel like you put some systems in place for them and like life has been more smooth for them?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And maybe Lisa should share her own story. But I'll talk about this client that I have. She's a doctor and she's a urologist who worked in the hospital and she just had this desire to write children's books. And she reached out to someone for support and they're like, you need to pick one. Either going to be a doctor or you're going to be an author. You can't have both.
Interesting.
So she was referred to me based on someone who was referred to me, who was referred by someone else, right? And she was telling me what was going on. And she had all these roles. So she was a mom, she was a wife, she was very big in her community, an advocate, all these different things that she was doing. And she was like, but I just really want to write these children's books and teach the kids that the sky's the limit. And I said, all right, so here's what we're going to do. So we looked at her lifestyle and said, what does productivity look like for you? What does self care look like for you? And the reason for that is I don't think productivity and self care is this off the shelf product where I'm like, here, Shaniece, take this. This is what you do.
Mhm.
It really has to fit in with your lifestyle. Otherwise, you're just following societal trends and it's really not making an impact. So with her, I was able to look at the time she wanted to put in with her family, the time she wanted to put in her community, and really navigate a sustainable system where it fit her lifestyle. So she wasn't trying to fit in someone else's box, but it was so specially curated for her where we're looking at her calendar saying, okay, how are you spending your time? Where can you move things? Where can you do other things? What trade-offs can you make, right? So really looking at her holistic picture and setting her up for success. And through accountability and coaching and mindset shifts, she was able to write not one, but I think she's up to like her 13th book. And we even
Wow.
traveled to Alaska together to do a book launch. And it has been a really great and fun ride for her. But she's experiencing something that she always wanted to experience just through a mindset shift and the power of accountability.
Listen, bro, that was fantastic. So basically, time management, right? You got to
Absolutely.
get your life in order, which
Goal
includes
setting.
setting up systems.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And just making it do what it do because we're not in a box. And
Right.
we can actually become an author and a urologist, apparently, and a number of other things that we would love to do as long as we have those systems in place and someone to hold us accountable and
Yeah.
help us along the way. So that's fantastic. All right. So the second question would probably be, could you define what self-care means to you and explain why it's crucial, especially for women?
Sure. So I feel like for any woman listening, they know why it's crucial. They feel it and they have the desire so strong that like I need it in my life. But I definitely want to underscore the importance of taking time for your well-being and understand that self-care is holistic. It's not just the mani, it's not the petty, it's not just the eyebrows or the personal maintenance of the facial and the massage. It's really this interconnected space of your emotional well-being, your physical well-being, your spiritual well-being, even your occupational well-being, right? They're all interconnected. And I think what happens is sometimes we treat self-care in a silo. It's like, oh, I need to get a manicure, not thinking about all the other things that are going on. Because if you have emotional things that are going on and you get that mani, when you're done with your nails, you're still going to have that going on. So you want to look
Right.
at it from a holistic picture. So
Mhm.
the way I define self-care is literally the same way I define productivity, doing what you need to do when you need to do it. So for example, Lisa and I were laughing the other day because we were like, okay, so we're going to work on this and we're going to, burn the midnight oil. And then both of us were like, no, we're going to go to bed. And that was the most productive thing for us. And
Mhm.
that was self-care because sleep is so
Mhm.
critical. So what we could have done in 3 hours, we could probably get it done in 20 minutes the next day after getting some sleep. Right.
Right.
So I really define self-care as doing what you need to do when you need to do it. And the other
Nice.
thing I would say is that it has to be sustainable. Otherwise, you're literally just going to need a reprieve from your life. It's this
Mm.
vicious cycle of work hard, hustle, vacation, work hard, hustle, work hard, hustle. We don't want to
Mhm.
do that. We want to incorporate self care as a lifestyle practice where you don't need a vacation from your real life or a vacation
Woo.
after your vacation. Right.
Listen, speaking to the choir.
Honey,
We're the
listen.
choir.
Yes,
Let
very
the
much
church sing.
so. And that's exactly why. So, for those that don't know, Rose-Anne has actually been my life coach and my self-care and productivity coach for the past 4 years. And so without Rose-Anne, I don't know where my life would be, y'all. I'm so serious. Like going from my role of being in financial services, being in a financial professional in the field, just having to put systems and things like that in place, having a blended family, family of six. We talked about this on, our intro, right? And we'll talk more. Y'all hear about my blended family and all of that and my family dynamic coming up. But I will say, having a baby boy at home that's 3 now. And then I was fortunate enough to be working with Rose-Anne during my transition from in the field in financial services into a management role, right? Where now I'm a partner of over 15 other individuals, right? And thanks a big shout out to Rose-Anne because I wouldn't have been able to build my team like that and still stay sane, y'all, because of the systems and things like that. So you definitely need to have somebody in your life like that can help you understand the importance of that. And I've been, ever since working with Rose-Anne, I've been going from not having to necessarily, grind, and then vacation from my real life, which was always that type of thing. But being able to have that self-care, have that harmony and that flow of
Mhm.
life is such more fulfilling,
Mhm.
and it's also more sustainable, like you talked about. So we're going to talk more about that. But I want to ask you, Ro, in your experience, what are some common misconceptions about self-care that you've encountered, and how do you address them?
So this alone can be a whole episode. So I'll try to make this brief. One of the things that people talk about all the time is self-care is selfish, that self-care is self-indulgent, and that it's a waste of money and time. And I believe that one, it doesn't have to be very expensive. It doesn't have to be expensive at all. Taking a walk is free, right? Going on a nature walk is free. Going to sit by a park is free. Lighting a candle, you probably paid $1, $5 for it, or $30 if you're bougie, right? But there's small things that you can do, whether it's aromatherapy, lying down, sitting down, thinking, writing, journaling. So the misconception is that I can't afford self-care. And then once you tell yourself that you can't do something, you don't even make space to do it, right? It's one thing to say, I can't do it, and your brain just shuts down and said, okay, then you're right. But if you say, how can I do it? Or how can I make this happen? Then your brain starts to think of solutions. So the other piece about self-care is selfish. It creates this guilt that you're taking time away from something else, or that you're wasting time. You should be working, or you should be hustling, or you should be grinding. So that's a big misconception that I found. Another thing is the opposite, is where some people think that self-care solves all problems, right? Like, oh, I have all this going on, but let me just go on a trip, or let me just go to the spa, or let me just do insert whatever that self-care thing is, and then it's going to vanish away. Self-care is not magic, y'all, right? It's not something that's just going to instantly disappear. But when you do have that holistic setup, because you're balancing all the different aspects of your life, that's when it becomes sustainable. We just call it different things. Some people think it's self-care is for only people who have issues or people who are facing things. We all engage in self-care, just different ways. Someone may say, I need my me time. I'm choosing me. I'm prioritizing me. That's self-care. Someone may say, no, it's just my outlet. I just need to go in my cave, or I just need to go in my own space. That's self-care. Someone may say, I just need downtime, or to prioritize my mental health, or to recharge, or boundaries, whatever you want to call it. It's a level of self-care. So it's not that someone is weak or emotionally vulnerable or not strong. Everyone engages in self-care in their own right. And it's not just for people who are facing issues. So those are a couple of different misconceptions.
Okay. So number one,
Yeah.
Self-care is not magic. It needs to be sustainable.
Yeah.
And you don't have to feel like you're overindulging.
Yeah.
And self-care can be something as simple as sitting by a free park, or being extravagant and going for a week on vacation in Jamaica.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
And it doesn't have to be by yourself either. Like,
Right.
a lot of people think it has to be alone time. Going on a girls trip is a great form of self-care, right?
Listen, one of my favorite things.
I know. Those are definite ways of self-care. So it's whatever you need in that moment.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Ro. So listen, I'm the self-care queen. All right, whether it's in my room, on a boat, on a plane, in a park. Listen, in my car, parked at a park. Looking at the water. Excuse me. So I advocate for women in self-care, just people in self-care in general, because we all need to be making time for ourselves. But in a spirit of transparency, I will say, like, having it sustainable is something that is not always done as it needs to be, right? Because once again, it's not magic, right? And you want to make sure that you are doing things that are going to be doable, not just for the moment, the day, the time, right? Even if you go on a 7-day cruise, come back, your real life is still your real life,
there you go.
Right? Get with somebody and get some things in order. And I like the way you say, like, all that ties into your mindset, right? If you know that you need a time, you need a break, get that, do that, right? If you know that you're not able to do that on your own, and you may need someone like yourself, right? Because Ro can get your life right. As long as you're letting Ro help you get your life right. Some people need that. So thank you for sharing that with us. Excuse me. After Thanksgiving things, right? So we're going to go into addressing the idea that self-care isn't selfish, but in fact necessary for optimal performance. And that kind of ties into what you just said. But just like emphasize that, once again, like, right, it's not selfish. It is necessary to be at your best self, to be at your peak and not in the valley.
I love that.
We need to make sure that we're doing what we need to be doing to put ourselves first at some point.
Absolutely.
Love that. So let's talk about the importance of self-care when it comes to stress reduction and like happiness, right? Or whatever that may look like, right? Because for different women and people, just in general, Everybody has different professions. Everybody has different roles. One thing that I know is that us as women, and this is why we talk a lot about self-care amongst us and our community of women that we have, because we wear a lot of hats, right? Oftentimes we're mom, we're wife, we're CEO, founder of organizations, we're in management. And Ro and I have this conversation all the time, y'all, because being a woman leader, right, it comes with its own challenges, right? And we may dive deep into that, right, in a future episode. But just let's talk about that from a way of what self-care looks like and stress reduction or living a more happier life. I know right now we had just launched and we're in the middle of doing this series called Happy, Healthy, and Healed. And I feel like what we're talking about today goes right along with that. So any thoughts on that, Ro?
A lot of thoughts on that. So for that happy, healthy, and healed, I talked about managing expectations, and I feel like that's such a big key to becoming happy, healthy, and healed, because when we don't communicate our expectations, or when we don't let people know what we're thinking, then we're going to be disappointed. We're going to be stressed and all the things. But going back to your question in terms of stress reduction, a lot of times it's really just defining something. So if you think of success is a moving target, right? Like today, the high school diploma is enough. Tomorrow, you need a bachelor's. By the next day, you need a master's. And then everybody's like, okay, so where's your PhD? In the same way, success is a moving target. So if the thing that's stressing you out is your career, because you're like, okay, so I just need to do one project and then I'll be successful. And then that's no longer enough. You need to do 2 or 3, or it keeps multiplying, or it keeps increasing. You're going to be stressed because you have a moving target. So what I think we need to do is really define what success looks like, define what self-care looks like, and define what productivity looks like. Otherwise, we're always going to be chasing the next thing. It's going to be the big shiny object of okay, so, I got this thing, now I need the other thing. It's the same thing with social media. I have 10 followers, now I need 100, now I need 1,000. Like, let it go already. Define what your key milestones are. Define what accomplishments you need to define. And that's going to help with your self-care, because you're not going to be stressed. Another thing in terms of stress reduction, I would say, is trade-offs. A lot of people would say to me, Ro, can I have it all? And before I used to say no. Now I say it depends, because it depends on what your all is. If you want a family, a job, X amount of money in the bank account, and, peace, you can have that, because it depends on your mindset. But if you want something that's going to change the lifestyle, right? Like you want the thing, but you don't want the lifestyle that it takes to attain that, that's when you're going to be stressed. Because if it takes 10 hours to make the goal that you need, but you only want to work 4 hours, there's a disconnect. So it's really about defining that thing. So one of the biggest things I talk to my clients about as it relates to productivity and self-care is trade-offs. Maybe you say, I want to spend some extra time with my friend or my child or whoever it is. What are you going to trade for that? Are you not going to do the laundry that day? Are you going to sleep with dishes in the sink? Are you not going to get enough sleep? What's a trade-off? Because maybe you can have it all, but maybe not at the same time. So you can't get 10 hours of sleep and then get 10 hours by the pool and then get 10 hours at work, because that's already 30 hours and we have a 24-hour day, right? So can you have it all? Maybe not at the same time, but you have to define what that is. And if it's realistic and your mindset is 1, willing to work to achieve it, and 2, realistic enough that it's something that's sustainable, yeah, you can have it all. But if your all is all and above and more and more and more, you're going to have some trade-offs. So I really think stress comes when you have unrealistic expectations, when you're doing the most, doing too much, not clear about what you want, and you're trying to keep up with, societal things or societal norms or cultural norms. So I would just start by saying, figure out what's causing the stress, make it more realistic, make it more sustainable, tie it into your self-care, because it's all connected.
Nice.
Love that. Love that. Listen, I didn't give you permission to be telling my business on here, Rose. So next time, if you just
all you had to do is smile and nod.
But yes, it is so true. Like, and I love how you put that, right? Maybe, right? Can you have it all? It depends on what that is. It depends on which are, and I think mindset is a big part of that, right? Because in perspective, like you talked about, because one person can see a situation one way and one person can see it another way, right? So depending on what your perspective is, I love how you talked about managing expectations and what that looked like, right? I think there was like a quote that you had mentioned where it was like, expect nothing but appreciate everything, right?
Yes.
We had talked recently on the show. And so I love that because it just tells you, right? When you have unrealistic expectations of others and even yourself, that leads to disappointment, that leads to stress, that leads to unhappiness, right?
Mhm.
And we don't want to live like that. Like life is too short, right? And I don't know. That's my thought on it. What you think, Shaniece?
Listen, I'm all the way. Expectations went thrown out the window probably 20 years ago for me, all right? Because I'm now at Roe where it comes to expect nothing and appreciate everything because you
Yeah.
cannot put expectations on anything and anybody, right?
Mhm.
Because you can't control what anyone else is thinking, speaking, feeling,
Do
like
it.
none of those things you're in control of, right? And for yourself, like putting expectations on yourself that may or may not even be doable, right? Why am I going to stress myself out about something I may or may not be able to do? I'm going to give you what I got, right? And I do my best to do things with all of me and with all of my heart. So loving everything about that concept. And that's the way I live. Like I don't expect anything of anyone. Like give me the best of you
I love it.
and I'm going to always give you the best of me, right? And then we have to always remember like what people show us, that's typically what it is, right? And so who you are, who you show me that you are, I believe you.
Mm.
um so yeah, took time. 41 black woman years.
That part, right? But
I
I
mean
love
probably not the whole
it.
41, but you know.
Listen, I love it though, because that is so important. And you do have to believe who people are. I feel like
Yeah.
for women, a lot of times, which we're not going to jump into this right now, maybe a future episode.
Nay,
But
nay.
a lot of times we invest in people's potential of who they could be. And I think
Mm.
that alone is anti self care and can lead
Ooh,
to stress and some other things. But
Absolutely.
that's for another time, y'all.
another time.
Yeah, I love that. So let me ask you this, Ro. Practically speaking, because I'm big with being practical and giving women and people takeaways.
Mhm.
What are like your top three takeaways of what women can walk away today with that they can begin to apply to their life that begins to move forward with having that self care?
I love that about you. Like you are definitely one of the most practical people that I know. And I love that piece of you because it's not this head in the clouds or, okay, that's great, but you want to know how to apply it. And I think that's great. So I will say that it's not something that everyone can just apply. We have to kind of customize it. But to give you some ideas and some thoughts to help you figure that on your own, I'll definitely say start with having a powerful morning routine. And that could be where you're praying, you're meditating, you're doing all the things to get your mind ready for the day. And I love to tackle like one or two things early in the morning so that if my entire day gets derailed before I even exit my bedroom, at least I feel like I got something done. In terms of the self-care piece, it's going to be so simple that people are going to be like, yeah, whatever. Prioritize sleep. Like we underestimate the importance of sleep. Like I was totally that person, be like, oh, I'll sleep when I'm dead. You know, like, I'm going to go hard. I'm going to do this. And then once I started getting out of that hustle mentality, I'm like, no, sleep is important because it's doing so many things. Like I kept saying that self-care is holistic. So I'm not just talking about the mental piece. I'm not just talking about the emotional piece, but sleep also helps you physically. A lot of us as women, we're trying to lose weight, but our body's like, I need time to do things overnight. So you need to sit your tail down, lay out so I can do what I need to do. But if you're always going and you're always running, I can't even do the things to help you get snatched. So if you would just lie down and let me work the way that I'm supposed to work, maybe that weight loss will really happen because going back to stress, all that cortisol and all that stuff that's supposed to, start balancing out as you're relaxing, it's not happening because we're constantly going. So I would say prioritize sleep. Don't underestimate the importance of hydration. Like drink your water, move. So I'm going to put all that in one: sleep, drink water, and move. Then the second thing was the powerful routine. Make sure that you do something important in the morning. So get something done so emotionally and mentally you feel accomplished and you feel confident. And then do something that helps you to feel the way you want to feel, whether it's confident or relaxed or whatever. And then the third thing I would say from like a self-care aspect is engage in something that ignites you. So engage in something fun, engage with your friends, engage with your family, anything that makes you feel amazing, engage in that way.
Listen, there y'all have it, right? And I love how you said that because I am big on practical tips, right? I want people to walk away. And that's
Mhm.
one thing that you'll get on this Sis Let's Talk About It. No matter what topic that we talk about, we're going to give you some key takeaways that say, listen, after you leave this time with us today, these are some things that you can immediately go and begin to apply into your life or begin to think about, right? In order to live a life that is happy, healthy, and healed. I'm big on that, right?
Yeah.
2023 is still our year, right? And we still doing all the things, but we need that self-care. We need that sleep. We need that mindset to be right. We need those
Mhm.
daily routines, right? And nobody's saying that we're perfect and it's going to be that we get it all right every single day, right? But just
Yeah.
be intentional about it, right? So I love that, y'all. And if y'all haven't already, make sure y'all like and follow us and subscribe, right, to the Sis Let's Talk About It and the She Is Still Dope Network and podcast. And I'm going to turn it over to my co-host, Shaniece. You got any final thoughts to wrap us out today, Shaniece, on this self-care topic?
Listen, I'm going to just recap on those threes, right? Because I was digging those, and I love your practicality, friend. Because there's always going to be some takeaways, right? Because we got to implement things within what 24 hours, or they just want it's like use it or lose it, right?
Right.
So we
That,
got to wake up with a dynamite routine. All right, like get up, get moving. Listen, I tell the girls that we coach at the academy, Young Women's
Mhm.
Empowerment Academy, stand up.
shout out. Let's go.
Listen,
Squad.
young ladies, young queens, listen, I am beautiful, I am blessed, I am brave, right? We're speaking life every day. So I always
Mhm.
encourage people to speak life in all situations, even when you think they're dead, done, and gone. You still here, you still have time. So thank you for that. Moving. Listen, Lord knows I need to lose some weight because I ain't going to disappear no other way, honey. This fat is not gonna fall off, y'all. Like I gotta do something with my life, so I'm gonna have to get up and get moving, right? Instead of looking at the water, I need to go swimming in it, learn how to do so, walk along it, honey. Some gonna have to get this body together. But thank you, Ro, for joining us this morning. We really appreciate you dropping those gems. Listen, everybody needs a Roseanne Uwague in their life. Okay, she will get you right, get your life right, honey. If you let her, she'll get your waist snatched too, right? You just got to get your sleep so your body can do what it needs to do.
Right.
So listen, that is a fact, right? So listen, thank you everybody for tuning in with us this morning for let's talk about it. We can't wait to see you next time. Thank you, Roseanne and Lisa. It's always a vibe, sis.
Yes. Let's go, ladies. Have a good one. And we
Thank
will
you,
see
ladies.
you.
All
Bye.
right.
Bye.
See ya.